In Algebra 2, this is on the back of worksheet 17.2b. I'm looking at numbers 20 and 23, which are for concept 14. They ask us to simplify each expression. So number 20, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by taking this fraction. I'm going to factor the top and the bottom. Now in the top, I've noticed that I've got x on each term. So when I start factoring the top, I'm going to take the x out. It becomes 4x squared minus 23x minus 6 on the inside. Now to factor this, there's a lot of different ways you can factor it. You would start usually with the diamonds. You would have 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. X squared, we'll use the variables in there. Negative 23x, the middle term goes on the bottom. And to get these, you have to multiply to give a negative 24x squared and add to give a negative 23x squared. The only ones that will do that is negative 24x, positive 1x. So now if I rewrite the 4x squared, instead of minus 23x, I'm writing minus 24x plus 1x minus the 6 on the end. I'm going to split that down the middle because I'm going to factor by grouping. The first two have a common factor of 4x, which gives me x minus 6 on the inside. Here my common factor is just 1 because there's nothing that goes into both. And notice how the x minus 6's match, which means my factored form would be 4x plus 1 from those common terms, and then x minus 6 from the factors that matched. So now I take it back up here. Remember that I had to take the x out first, but now I've got 4x plus 1 and x minus 6 in the factored form. Now remember, that's just factoring the numerator. That's just factoring the top. If I look at the bottom doesn't have an x in common. It doesn't have any numbers I can take out of all three. So on the bottom, I'm just going to go straight to the diamond. I'm going to multiply 6x squared times 6. I get 36x squared. The minus 37x goes on the bottom. Multiplies to give us 36x squared. Adds to give negative 37x. Negative 36x. Negative 1x. That works. Multiplies to give you the positive, adds to give you the negative. Now I'm going to, rewrite the 6x squared from the original problem, but instead of minus 37x, I'm going to rewrite negative 36x minus 1x, and then back from the original problem is that plus 6. So like before, I'm going to split down the middle. I'm going to group, taking a 6 out for the common term here. I get x minus 6 on the inside. From here, my common term, there really is nothing, but I'm going to take, since that's a minus, a negative 1 out. Becomes x minus 6. That's going to change that sign. And now I've got my x minus 6's matching. So my two common terms out front are 6x minus 1, and then the common factor x minus 6. So going all the way back to the original problem, 6x minus 1, x minus 6. And the whole point of doing all the factoring was to simplify it. So I'm looking where I can cancel. And those x minus 6's are the only things that are in common. So my final answer is going to be x times the quantity of 4x plus 1 on top divided by the quantity of 6x minus 1. So there's number 20. Now I'm switching over to 23. Where I've got this really ugly fraction. Now before I deal with this part, I'm just going to concentrate on the top where it's a subtraction problem. So here I have to subtract these and try to get an answer for this here, and then see what I can do with the denominator. So now when I'm subtracting, remember subtraction means I have to have a common denominator. So 12 over x plus 5 minus 4 over x minus 5. My common denominator is going to be one each of these two factors. This fraction is missing this x minus 5. This fraction is missing the x plus 5. We want both of those in there. So now I have to put them on top as well. So if I took this fraction, I had to put that on the bottom. I'm multiplying on the bottom. I have to multiply the top as well. Here I multiplied on the bottom, multiplied on top. So now when I subtract, my common denominator is now x minus 5, x plus 5. I'm going to distribute the 12. Going to give me 12x minus 60. And now here I'm going to distribute negative 4. So really what it's doing is negative 4 times x plus 5, which is negative 4x minus 20. Now when I combine terms, I'm combining the x's, I get 12x minus 4x, which is 8x. Combine these, I get negative 80. Now on the bottom, I'm actually going to multiply these out, and you'll see why in a minute. If I distribute these, I multiply them out, I'm going to end up with x squared minus 25. Now if I bring it back to the problem how it started, remember I had this ugly fraction, I had to subtract this problem on the top. But then I had on the bottom divided by 8x over x squared minus 25. So I'm going to bring that back. Now once I've brought it back, if you notice that in this big ugly fraction, both denominators are the same. They're both x squared minus 25, which means I can now actually cancel those. And that's going to leave me with 8x minus 80 over 8x. That's all that's left over. So now I just have to try to factor this and cancel and reduce as much as I can. This has an 8 in common. When I factor that, I get x minus 10 on the inside. These 8's cancel. So when I'm finally done, after all that work, my final answer for number 23 is going to be x minus 10 over 1x.